Hey gang, it's KR King here, talking today about ways in which you can make your world seem more real, which is, and I'm going to use the city guard as an example. And what I'm going to do, as with all things, is I'm going to look at the real world examples of the equivalent of the city guard in the classic medieval fantasy game, think about what we know about those equivalents, and then apply them to the varying levels of city guards and military that we see in our fantasy world. Because when the players start interacting with your world and going around, they're going to run into things. And one of the most ubiquitous NPCs of any kind of typical fantasy medieval world are city guards. Basically, this is kind of a mixture between the police and the military, and it kind of depends on the structure of your world or the structure of your settlements. In a democracy, you have much more of police having their duties. And then if you do have a military that guards the city from foreign invasion or whatnot, it's a very separated kind of thing. And then as you go to a dictatorship, the police and the military become kind of the same thing. But the point is, anytime you have a settlement, village, town, or city, you're going to have some force that's, keeps order, investigates crimes, protects the, borders of the city. If you have a classic walled city, or within the city, the keep, the nobles will have guards. You have a world where there are dangers, there are threats that you have to protect yourself, but also you have disputes between people in the settlement that somebody has to investigate, prosecute, keeping order in general, unruly mobs, riots, this kind of thing. The peasants are revolting, right? And since the players are almost always going to get involved in all sorts of disputes, combat, mysteries, whatever. They're going to be entering and leaving cities. They're going to have an interaction with these forces, these individuals that keep order, and that is the city guard. So as with all things, there are various levels of city guards. And as I mentioned at the outset, I'm going to use real world examples for this. So kind of the most basic sort of guard is the classic security guard, the night watchman, the mall cop, the auxiliary police that you see at parades or events. You see security guards again at a concert or something like this. And auxiliary police are sometimes volunteers, sometimes they're paid, but they're not quite yet police. And there's kind of two factors here in a real world example of this sort of security guard, auxiliary policeman, mall cop that we think about is, one, they don't have that much authority. They have some. Within their little sphere, they can kick you out of an event. They can arrest you for shoplifting or something. But again, until the real police come, right? And because of that limited authority, their social standing is a little lower. And we sometimes think of these people, as fake cops or whatever. Again, not to disparage anyone, but I'm just talking about attitudes we have. So you want to take that to your lowest level city guardsmen, auxiliary guardsmen that you have in your world. That is, they only have limited authority, but they may act as though they have more or try to lord that over you. And they're not necessarily as bright or as sophisticated or skilled or whatever, because that's why they're not real cops. So the thing is, when your players are leaving, let's say a village or a town, and they're going to encounter the town guard, people at the main gate here, have it reflect the level at which these guards are. They're not, super professional, policeman types. They're certainly not military or anything. They're just people the city has hired to watch the gate. So they might have the classic, hey man, I just work here ethos, right? Of your classic security guard type. But they also do not want to get in trouble from the higher-ups, right? This really motivates them. So this makes them not, that amenable to just letting players go in and out, or hijinks, or smuggling something in. Clearly that cart has something big in it or whatever, the Trojan horse element, right? Of course, they may be very amenable to a bribe, right? They don't make very much there, perhaps disparaged by the more professional city guards or the higher-ups or the military types. So they don't have that much connection to the higher-ups and their secret plans, but they may know all sorts of gossip, because don't forget, at this level, they know all sorts of people, maids, bartenders, servants, thieves and ruffians, right? They know all sorts of people that know the gossip of what's going on in town. So all of this should be reflected in the diction and attitudes of these super low level security guard type city guards. They're gruff, unsympathetic. They just ask, what are you doing? Who do you think you are? All that kind of stuff. Or if the players can connect with them at this level, maybe the player's background is in this kind of milieu, or maybe the players are, give them stuff, here, you look like you're thirsty or whatever. These people might respond much more friendly than a soldier or some trained person. And if the players do know higher ups and these lower level city guards start harassing them, they could mention that name and then they back off because they don't want to get in trouble. And think about the security guards or auxiliary police or whatever you've seen at events or parades or anywhere, in the mall. One, they're not outfitted with the latest equipment. And in this case, their uniforms might just be improvised. They might have just a nightstick or something like that. So above these, you have trained professionals. These are guards that are better paid. As I say, more trained. These are like the cops walking a beat. They patrol at night. They are perhaps in a bigger city. They're the ones that are at the guard houses. They assist in investigations. They come when someone, says, stop thief or whatever, or there's a break-in or something has happened. Now, again, these individuals still don't want to get in trouble from their superiors. They follow their, I haven't heard about anything like that. They're probably not as amenable to bribes because they have more to lose with their job. But if you have those connections, they can certainly pave the way for you in certain situations. And they're more likely to assist the players in a sort of honest way if the players have a legitimate problem. If the players, let's say they have some tavern that they've purchased and it gets robbed, or if someone has been injured in the street and they go to this, they see the city guardsman that's a little more professional and say, come here. They're not just going to go, whatever, man, that's not my department, or to go over there and go, oh, the guy got robbed as they're putting their wallet in their pocket, right? These are much more professional, much more out to actually do their job. And here, if you are going to bribe them, it has to be subtle. They will probably not take it from a total stranger. You have to be someone that's well known. The bribe has to be something like, we'll help you, if you can do guard duty at my place, for this amount of money, and then they become your friend. And these are the types also that are going to be the guards at a noble's house, at the keep, the lowest level guards. They're not going to have riffraff or rabble working for them. So think about the police that you've dealt with in the real world, and that could be pro or con, right? But think about, a good policeman and how they operate in the real world. They know how to deal with an unruly crowd. They know how to set an area aside for an investigation. They can interview people and determine whether they're lying. I mean, not perfectly, right? They're not like some person, but this is their job. They're policemen. They are investigators. They look at people and question them about things, and they get experienced at it. They're going to be dedicated to their tasks and much more effective. You're not going to find them sleeping on the job or just, oh yeah, well, I'll walk the wall later or something like that. So they're going to be a little more sophisticated. They're going to be more matter of fact. They're not going to be as much, complaining to some stranger about their higher ups or whatnot. They know decorum. They can still be very colorful. They can still have information. They're going to be higher level in terms of what they know. And this is where you start to get into leveled PCs. Maybe a second level fighter retires or was injured or something, or knew someone just, didn't want to risk their life anymore. And so they become a higher level city guard. This is a bigger city or for some noble house or something. They're a little bit skilled. They're not just some, zero level idiot. And that means they've got a greater knowledge about the world and experience in terms of adventurers like the player characters and what they're about. So next you have officers and the captain of the guard. These are going to be very trained, very professional, but now they're entrusted to command the other city guardsmen below them. And this is where that line between policemen and the military often gets blurred in the typical medieval fantasy RPG setting. You have a village or even perhaps a town. The head of the city guard might be an ex-soldier, but they're sort of the high sheriff. They're still employed by the city in a sort of general way. They got hired because of their expertise as a soldier, but they're no longer in the military. There just isn't that big of a military force here. Again, once you get a town and once you start to get a military, then that captain of the guard could be someone from the military that's overseeing these guardsmen that are not in the active military force. Because here's the thing, as you get into larger towns and certainly a city, they're going to maintain an army of some kind for external security. The internal security might be through these policeman type, lower level city guards, informants, people that are, working as rogues and stuff like that, that are tipping off the police, who then, depending on the threat, will tip off the army. So once you start to get into this professional military, this blurring of this, and then, up to the ultimate military security forces of a, let's say, city, much less liable to being bribed and much less liable to being intimidated by anyone. These are going to be higher level characters, in terms of as a PC, and they're going to be way more intelligent in terms of assessing a situation. They are also going to operate under a much more strict hierarchy of command. They have ranks, you take orders, you follow those orders, you don't disobey orders, but they don't necessarily do things unless they are ordered to do so. So these might be individuals that are guarding, the king himself or the council members or the richest people in town. And they're going to be well paid, especially if they're higher, like 4th or 5th level PCs. You got to pay that person a lot in order to get them to be your guard. Or the chief of police type thing, or a chief investigator of a large city might be a fighter of a higher level. They might be a higher level priest from the local temple that's sent in because they're intelligent and they can investigate a situation. If you've got where you have a crime or a murder or something like that, and if the players are involved, they're going to question the players. They're going to have access to other lower level guardsmen and whatnot. Although, again, these are not just going to be the idiot, security guards. These are going to be potentially leveled guards as well that they utilize in terms of their investigations. So let's say you have a series of ritualistic murders in a city. This person, this chief investigator, might be a cleric who knows something about divine magic, but they also might have a wizard that's helping them in case there's any kind of arcane stuff. And even a soldier who's running the various guards and whatnot, depending on the level of this, the importance, who was ritualistically murdered. The richest merchant in town, you're going to have a high-level person investigating this. And the thing about this is, think about a movie where, the FBI takes over the investigation, or the U.S. Marshals or something, and they just shunt aside the local idiots. This is the sort of thing that can happen. Or I think in one of those Die Hard movies where they're at the airport in the winter and the troop of soldiers comes in and, blows off the airport police, right? Because they're low-level police. Well, the thing is, of course, they turned out to be on the bad guy's side, but they had to do it. These were the big-time guys. And when you see them all outfitted and ramrod straight and barking out orders, there's a sense of command there. And this is what you can convey to your player. These are serious soldiers, serious leveled characters. They're not to be, they're to be taken seriously. Again, once your players get up to high levels, even these characters are not, although they can get a lot of people on their side, but they're not going to be that fearsome. But you're going to be stupid once you see these are the guys that are really in charge. These are the people that have the authority and expertise. You'd be stupid to be insulting towards them or whatever. You want them on your side. And in all these cases, you look at them in terms of the milieu of what we know about the various hierarchies of security personnel, and we react to them in that fashion. And that's what's going to make your world really seem real, because what you're doing is you're taking something as ubiquitous as the classic city guard, the person at the gate that says, well, state your business. Why are you coming to this city? What have you got in your cart? And you're thinking about, how would that person act in terms of what I know, what I've dealt with in terms of, like I said, security people pretending to be security people. There's attacks here, that kind of thing. And they're really scummy, and it's clear. I don't think these are regular types. These are auxiliary what? All the way up to trained professional police people, but also soldiers and officers and all that kind of thing. It's really going to give your players that sense that this is a real world. And that's what we're going for. Because if they're invested in your world as though it were real, much more than just, oh, my character's 8th level now. Oh, my character's this. But they're invested in this world. You're all going to have a lot more fun. So hopefully that was helpful to you. If you like what you see, please subscribe to my channel. Love to hear your experiences with the ubiquitous city guards in D&D. But most importantly, of course, keep playing an RPG game, whichever one you choose. and tell somebody else about it.